Okay. To explain instant stuck pushing and double misslotting hooks, we should first like analyze how normal stuck pushing works. So with normal stuck pushing, you usually get the 5 ancilla slots, front slots filled, and sword sparkles in the back slot to misslot a hook, and then shoot a real hook to get it stuck. Oh, that was 2 misslotted hooks, because I didn't let go of my sword in time. Let me do that again. So the way it works is that you shoot a misslotted hook and then you immediately shoot a normal hook. And while the normal hook is in midair, the misslotted hook will connect. And it'll, so when that happens, the game's like, oh, you're using the hook shot and it attaches something. Time to pull you forward, right? But that's before the hook, the real hook actually connected. So when the real hook connects, you're not using the hook shot anymore. So after it connects, the game's like, you're not using the hook shot, why should I pull you forward? So the hook just gets stuck. And then, when you release the hook later, you overload the ancilla. You overload the rest of the front slots so that you can like use the hook without it actually coming out. Because at that point, the game's like, at that point the game's like, oh, you're using the hook shot and I see it's attached to something. It's time to pull you forward. So, like that happens, right? But, oh, this is not So, that's how stuck pushing works, right? And if you were to try to, release a stuck hook without overloading the front slots, it wouldn't work because it wouldn't work because the hook you spawn would kind of like override it, and it wouldn't pull you forward. Now the thing is, when you misslot a hook and then a real hook, when the misslotted hook attaches, you get pulled forward and the stuck hook hasn't attached, and there's a window of time between when you get pulled forward and before the second hook attaches. So what happens if you use the hook shot in the you use the hook shot again in the middle of that time frame? Well, that's how instant stuck pushing works. So I'm gonna set it up again. Oh, I got double misslotted hooks again. Hold on. Okay. So I'm being pulled forward, right? And the second hook, which is the real hook, hasn't connected. Now after I get forward, I'm gonna use the hook shot again, right? And this is before the stuck hook has attached. Yeah? So after this happens, you'll use the hook shot and it'll work fine and the game doesn't try to overwrite the stuck hook because it's still in the middle of being like made or whatever. And you use the real hook, and you don't attach it to anything. But as you're using it, the second hook you fired earlier will attach, and then the game will see, oh, the hook attached to something, and I see you're using the hook shot. Time to pull you forward, and then so you're basically instantly causing the second hook to pull you forward after making the stuck hook, or after getting like desynced from the original hook. Show that again. Oh, I see that time. I didn't clear the chest, so the hook didn't have enough room to spawn in, so it didn't actually spawn, and the second hook didn't connect. And that time, I might have gotten Terminated there. You do kind of need to, like, get past the Terminator. So you need to step forward a little bit. So when you throw your third hook, you're basically making it so that you're using the hook before the second hook attaches, so that when it finally attaches, the game will proceed with the pulling you forward routine like normal. But since you're already ahead of it, the stuck hook, then you'll be pulled forward like you want. So because of this, and because of how instant stuck push works, you kind of want to try to delay the second hook as much as possible to give you the biggest window of time to walk and use the hook shot again. See, I had like a noticeable delay between hooks, and I did that to like widen the window of time I had to clear the chest and then use the hook a third time. I'm gonna show that one more time. Hook, wait, oops, I waited too long and I released the spin. Oh, I still have my hook, whoops. Get rid of that. So that way I had plenty of time to release the hook there. Okay, so now that I've explained instant stuck pushing, now let's get into double misslotting hooking, because that uses the kind of the same principle, where you're basically storing like this you're storing the hook before it gets attached. So let me do so what's happening here is, okay, so I think that all the misslotted hooks kind of like react to like the same, like if it attaches to something flag or whatever, or and when it should start going forward. Because if you use the real hook, they all kind of start going forward again, right? So what's happening here is kind of the same thing that was happening earlier, except with misslotted hooks for both of them. Oh, that was not a misslot. That was... Right, because I did it wrong. Right. Okay, so you fire the first hook and it goes, and then you fire the second hook, and while the second hook is traveling in midair, the first one will attach. So so the second misslotted hook will be like, oh, I've attached to something, I guess I'll stop. And it's a misslotted hook, so it behaves differently. So you might have seen when I was doing it, the tip of the second hook kind of just stopped here, like around where my sword is pointing. So it's like kind of like hovering in space, right? Or it's like hovering in the middle, and it's like stuck in the middle of its trying to attach to something portion of its code or whatever. And when you end up using the real hook, you cause the hooks to start moving again. So when you use the real hook, what's going to happen is the second hook will start moving again, and then once it attaches to the item, the game will think, oh, the hook shot attached to something, and I see you're using the hook shot, so I guess it's time to pull you forward. So this is what ends up happening. So the second hook started moving again after I started using the hook, and then once it attached to the chest, then I got pulled forward. And that's why you don't need to overload double misslotted hooks on like stuck hooks, because double misslotted hooks are kind of stationary up here, and they haven't attached to anything. So when you use the hook, you're just restarting their movement, and then once it finally attaches to something, it'll pull you forward. So for those to release, you just need to make sure your real hook is traveling long enough in the air without hitting anything. That's not right. Okay, because if I were to do it like here, and hook up, my hook would probably hit the spike. Or actually, I think it goes through spike. So if I did it like here, my hook would probably hit this block before the misslotted hook had a chance to hit the chest. So it's not going to work. Right. I might be able to still get it from here. Nope. Okay. Because I think it attached to something already. So when you're doing double misslotted hooks, you basically just get 2 hooks. And then your second hook will be hovering in space. So you just need to use the hook shot again once you're in the place you want to cause it to start moving again. And then once it attaches to something, the game's like, oh, you started doing this. Time to pull you forward. So, and misslotted hooks persist in super tiles. That's why it's useful for stuff like desert torches. Let's go back one. That's not it. Yeah, sure. That's what I'm about to do. Ice Rod Hook is basically how you do any high index set or low index setup. Okay. So what the Ice Rod ends up doing is it's basically anything that generates a lot of sparkles. So silver's red ring or Ice Rod. In that case, what I did was bomb, and then I did 2 Ice Rod sparkles. The main ancilla part of that filled 2 other front slots, and then I think each of them generate 3 sparkles each. That fills the remaining 6 slots, and that lets you double misslot hooks because you can now all the back slots are now all the front slots are full and the back slots have particles. So you just shoot your hook twice and you get 2 misslotted hooks. So unlike with normal stuck hooks, these persist between super tiles. So my second hook was, as you saw, it's still hovering here, right? It hasn't attached anything yet. So when I go up here and do it here, and I hook this way, when I'm using the real hook, I'm causing the second misslotted hook to keep going, and then after a while, it'll finally attach to the chest and pull me forward. In this case, it's up.